Hi all, in this video I will be discussing 12 real interview questions that was asked on Java Airtel interview. If you want full ready to speak answer for every question, comment the word Java on the comment section. So let's get start with our first questions. So before going ahead with our first questions, I would request you to subscribe Deep Developer YouTube channel where I make videos on Java, Spring Boot, microservices, and you can watch this playlist company wise interview preparation. I have covered Deloitte interview, IPA interview, PwC interview, Infosys interview, IBM interview. You can go through those. So let's start with the video. So basically during the interview they asked about like collections, immutability concept, comparable versus comparator, concurrency, thread concept, Elasticsearch. So each and every concept they asked about few of the critical questions or the scenario based questions as well. So I will be going one by one those and I will be explaining with some general example as well. So meanwhile, if you face any doubts, you can ask on the comment section, and if you want to cover any specific company's interview videos, let me know on the comment section. Let's get start with our first question. What is the difference between HashMap, linked HashMap and the TreeMap? The most people usually say like HashMap is fast, linked HashMap maintains order, TreeMap is sorted. That's correct, but it is not enough as an experienced Java developer. So this is the answer. What it separate you from the other candidate is you can explain with HashMap like there is no ordering and there is order of one operations and it is backed by an array or a linked list. And next for the linked HashMap, it maintains the insertion order, still order of one complexity. Think of it as an HashMap. Then about the TreeMap, keep saying it is sorted at all the time, but it have order of log n complexity operations as it's internally using a red black tree under the hood. There maybe they ask like simple questions if you are designing something cache, if you want to mention the insertion order must be mentioned. If the system needs like sorted key, then what to use the specific scenario. So you can cover that as well. So next questions is that they ask like on null key tree maps and what it's happened. Like for example, in the these three maps, if we want to insert the null as a key, then how these maps will behave. So you can start with, in case of the hash maps, it's allowed to store the null key, but it's stored at an bucket of 0 and no hashing happens when it is trying to insert the value. So in the linked hash map, it also allows to add null as a key as it's internally extending hash map. So it inherits the same behavior as of hash map. Then in case of the tree map, it will throwing a null pointer exception. So let me know in the comment section why it's throw null pointer exceptions. Okay, because if we want to store the key, so it will be first comparing the key. So on that case it will be using compare to method. So if you try to use the compare to method on the null, so it will be going the null pointer exceptions, right? Let's move to the next questions. How do you make a class immutable? So most developer answers like, even I also used to answer like, make it final, make the field private and final, there will be no setter method, only these three check will be there. But they can ask like some follow-up questions as well. Like for example, your immutable class has a date field and your getter returns it directly. Is your class is still immutable? The answer is no. Start by explaining like, say someone calls like a get birth date method and then calls set time of 0. So on the return date object, so they just change the internal state of your immutable class. You never give them a setter. Fix is like it's a defensive copy. You need to use a defensive copy. So in your getter returns like a new object of date, then birth date dot get time. not the original reference. And you have the same defensive copy on your constructor too. And I will be asking you one more questions, like what is the difference between comparable versus comparator. I will not give this answer in this section, so I will want you to put that on the comment sections, and if you want I can provide you these scripted documents where you can directly say the answer to your interviewer. Let's move to our next questions. What volatile actually does? So it guarantees the visibility when threads A write to a volatile variable, the thread B immediately sees that updated value. So there will be no CPU caching because it goes straight to the main memory, and from there the threads are fetching the value. So here is what the volatile does not do. It does not guarantee atomicity. Interviewer may ask, like, if multiple threads are increasing a counter, does the volatile alone make it thread safe? For example, if you use count plus plus, the answer is no. If you are using count plus plus, is not the one operation. It actually reading the value and adding 1 to it, then writing it back to the variable. So there are 3 operations. So for example, 2 threads can read the same value at the same time, both add 1, both write back the same result, and you may lost an incremented value. The fix is that you can either use synchronized, which gives you the lock, or use atomic integer with increment and get method, which is atomic by design. You can ask, like, when to use what. So volatile is for flag or the simple state, not for the counter. Next question they can ask about synchronized and its 3 types and with difference between state and instance concept. So a synchronized instance method, the lock is on the current object. This is means that this object, and only one thread per object instance can enter at a time. So in case of synchronized static method, lock is on the class object. So class name dot class. So one lock share across all the instances. So you can point out the synchronized instance and the synchronized static method. Other one is the synchronized block. You provide the lock object yourself, most flexible, lets you lock on specific resources, not the entire object. Now they can ask, like, if a static synchronized method and an instance synchronized method are called at the same time on the same object, will they block each other? Answer is no, because they lock on different monitors, and because one locks on the classes and other locks on the instances, and they run in parallel. They only block each other if they compete on the same lock. So 2 instance method on the same object, they will wait, and the 2 static method on the same class, they will wait. For the instance and the static combination, there is no conflict. You may ask, like, some scenario based application, because it's an Airtel interview questions, so they can ask something banking related thread safety scenarios, like multiple user hitting the same account simultaneously. Will give these scenarios and they will explain, like, check is that if balance is greater than or equal to the withdrawal amount, then subtract, and that there is a 2 separate step and it is an not non-atomic. This code is there, they can explain, like, and they can explain, like, thread A check the balance, for example it is 1000 rupees, B check the balance 1000 rupees, and both have enough funds. Now they want to subtract 900. Subtract, then you can come to the negative value, because 1000 rupees is there and we are 900 plus 900 means 1800 we are subtracting, it comes to the negative. Then what is the fix is that? So we need to use synchronized here. The best approach for an this answer is create a dedicated lock object, like private final object lock equal to new object, then wrap the overall every deposit, every withdrawal and every balance check in a synchronized locked method. Why a dedicated lock object instead of synchronized method? Because it is more flexible. If your class later need multiple lock on the different resources, maybe one for the balance and one for the transaction history, you can do that. Synchronized method only give you one lock per object. So like that you can explain as a senior dev. So if you're still watching the video, I request you please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's continue to our last questions. Elasticsearch and how it works internally. So when you insert a document, so Elasticsearch runs it through an analyzer. It breaks the text into an tokens. For example, you have the text called Java Developer. It becomes the token of Java and the developer. Then it builds an inverted index, map each word to a document ID where the word appears. When you search, Elasticsearch does not scan the every document. It looks up your search term in the inverted index and instantly get back a list of matching document ID. Then it scored them using some algorithms. So there is no full document scanning. So these are the all the questions which was asked on Airtel interview questions. So if you want the full ready to speak script, you can tell. I will put that on the comment. And in the part 2, I will be covering more of the scenario based questions, and I will try to explain with an general example as well. So thank you for watching the video and all the best for your interview.